Hey guys, Sword here, back again with another action figure review. And if I'm being honest, I wasn't 100% sure if this one was going to happen or not, but nevertheless, here we are, and there he is, because today I'm going to be taking a look at the Mattel Creations exclusive Masters of the Universe, Masterverse, New Eternia, Deluxe Snout Spout. This, of course, is brought to us by the, we'll say, not-so-fine folks over at Mattel, at least for now. And that has something to do with why I wasn't sure if this review was going to happen or not. But before we get into all of that, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at all Snout Spout has to offer in terms of accessories, starting off with a pair of alternate hands. He's got a grip hand for the right side and a fist hand for the left. As you can see, currently he has a grip hand on the left side and a fist hand on the right, mostly because the left grip hand can hold his trusty fireman's axe better than the right. That said, the fireman's axe does have a couple of ports on it. We'll get into why that is in just a moment here, because he also comes with a Blasty Blast, a water blast for his trunk, which I'm not gonna lie, looks like blue freezy pop splooge. Let's not kid ourselves here. Getting that out of the way before I get a flag on my video. Which, if that didn't do it, I'm sure this will. Because the rigmarole I had to go through to get this figure is pretty ridiculous. And we're going to address that first. That way we can keep the review relatively positive for the rest of its duration. So, I ordered good old Snout Spout here around the time he went up, we'll say mid-March. Got him a couple days after I picked him up, actually, which was a quick turnaround. So, obviously, I was excited. I thought he looked pretty bussin'. And after I opened him up, was messing with him for a while, his fucking arm broke. Right at the elbow swivel. Now, if he just had double-jointed elbows like most Masterverse figures, that probably wouldn't have happened, but I digress. So, needless to say, next day, I contact Mattel Creations, tell them, hey, my figure broke, can I get a replacement? They're like, sure, just send us the defective one back. So, they send me the label, I send them the defective one back. All is right with the world. However, all was not right with the world, because literally a month after they had already received my defective Snout Spout figure, I hit them up and say, hey, what's going on here? I haven't received an email notice about a refund or a replacement or anything. And they said, oh, we'll look into it. Well, long story short, Snout Spout has sold out in the time Mattel Creations was dicking around not getting my replacement order taken care of. So I got fucked out of the figure. Thankfully, though, I was able to find it on eBay for about what it cost direct from Mattel Creations. So, fuck Mattel Creations. That was some straight up bullshit, because even though it was sold out, they should have been able to replace it anyways, because I know plenty of people who have gotten Masters of the Universe Origins figures replaced, no questions asked, and we all know that those sell out in about 30 minutes or so. So the whole, if it's sold out, we can't replace it bullshit is bullshit. So, again, fuck Mattel Creations. That was pretty fucking lame, man. So, taking a closer look at good old Snout Spout here, I gotta tell ya, he's still pretty bustin'. Despite all the trouble I had to go through to get this figure, I like him quite a bit, and was able to fix the problem I had with my initial copy. That said, it should be worth noting that this little tuber on the back of his head and the ones coming out of his backpack onto his belt here are separate in the package, along with the backpack, which has a little clip for his axe there. But I decided to leave those on. because they're kind of a bitch to take off, so fuck that. But as far as this amazing head sculpt goes, should be worth noting if you unplug the tuber on the back here, it's hollowed out and his eyes are clear yellow plastic. He has fucking light piping like Transformers used to back in the day. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. And one thing to note, he's got the tusks here. They are articulated, which is crazy. But you can actually pop these out and hook these tubers on his belt into his head. And then you can pop the tusks onto the ports on the axe. So lots of modular features with this figure. Not something we're used to seeing with a lot of Masterverse figures, but there are some that have those types of features, I guess. That said, as far as articulation goes on this guy, his head is on the standard kind of hinge ball joint there, kind of hindered by the tube, and it's pretty loose fitting, but that's probably for the best because it makes it easy to take off. And I will tell you, hooking the tube on to the head when it's detached and then popping it onto the body is a little bit easier than trying to attach it while it's still connected to the body. That, and you can work out all the joints on the head because the ears move forward and back. Again, the tusks move. And then the trunk has like umpteen points of articulation. It's got a hinge swivel joint at the base here. It's got a hinge swivel joint right here. Gives you plenty of range there. It's got a hinge swivel joint. Let me see. It's got a hinge swivel joint right here, as well as right here, and right here at the very end. So you can really pose the heck out of this thing. And then of course the trunk has a peg hole in the end for that, we're gonna call it blue raspberry freezy pop splooge. That said, as far as the shoulders go, you can pop them out to the side. As far as the pauldrons will allow, now they are removable via these little tabs here, kind of like the Vicron figure, but I'm gonna leave them in there. I think they look cool. Gives them that linebacker silhouette that I like. Does have rotation as well. He's got a swivel in the bicep, as well as rotation in the elbow. And this is the area of the figure I had trouble with before. So with this one, I heated up the biceps. I carefully removed the lower arms. As you can see, rotate just fine. There is no overabundance of friction. It's not loose, but it's not tight to where it is literally twisting the peg. This is pretty free moving. I can rotate it all the way around as much as I want. And before I pop the thing back together, I heated up the sockets again, put a dab of soap in there, popped it back together, went together just fine, actually. Much easier than the King Keldor I reviewed some time ago from Masters of the Universe Revolution, which, judging by the view count on that video, not a lot of y'all watched that. Thanks a lot. But, yeah, man, that is how you fix these elbows. I don't know why this guy and the King Keldor had that problem, because the Gwildor, the Orko the Great, or Orko the White, whatever he's called from Revolution also, and the Meg Foster Evil Lynn from the 87 movie series, they didn't have that tight of elbow rotation, so I don't know what's going on there. That said, you do get about a 90-degree bend in the elbow, which is nice. And then, of course, the hands rotate and hinge in and out. I will tell you, I think the wrist pegs are a little thicker than the pegs in the elbows, which is kind of weird. But I honestly can't remember at this point, since it's been quite a while since I got this figure. This one here, not the one that broke, obviously. And modded it so I wouldn't have those problems again. So, you know, just gonna have to take my word for it, man. his arms up here. His torso is on the standard, at least now standard, Masterverse kind of ball joint. It can crunch forward about that far with the backpack. It's not going to crunch very far, but it will crunch back a little bit. He does rotate and tilt side to side. And I will say, with all this gear hooked up, any looseness that was in the torso, it's kind of omitted because he's got all this stuff hooked up. So that kind of helps tighten things up a bit. He does have a waist twist, and of course his torso can rotate at the diaphragm as well. He's got this little pressure gauge on his belt that is articulated. You can rotate that around. That's pretty cool. And if I pop this tuber off here, he does have the drop-down hips, the dreaded drop-down hips, which I am not a fan of personally, but I know some people just can't live without them. And then he can kick forward and back. He's got a thigh swivel. Kick out to the side. Just fine without the flipping drop-down hip, but what do I know, right? I'm just a schmuck who reviews toys and bitches about toy companies on the internet. He's got a double knee. Really tight on that top joint. Appreciate that. Said I don't want arthritis before I'm 30. And then he's got a boot swivel with a hinge in the foot. Which works pretty well. He's got a rocker and peg holes at the bottom of the feet if you need a stand. Which this guy, he's pretty solid. I wouldn't say you need a stand, but you know, it never hurts to be safe rather than sorry. So, popping his arms down. Which I have to tell you, I almost thought his arms were on backwards based off how this bicep muscle was shaped, because I'm kind of used to that being on the inside, but yeah, that's because I collect Marvel Legends and the anatomy on those things are atrocious. But either way, that is Snout Spout in a nutshell, man. Cool ass figure. Not going to be eligible for one of my figures of the year because of the issues. So Triclops is still holding his spot as far as that goes, at least until that Merman or Battle Armor Skeletor comes out, that is. Because those are my guys. So we can clip his axe into the back here, which that's pretty easy. It's a lot easier than clipping Man-at-Arms' mace back there, to tell you the truth. But speaking of other heroic warriors, I do have a couple ready for the inevitable size comparisons. So, without further ado, why don't we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's good old Snout Spout alongside a couple other heroic warriors from the new Eternia subline. We got Man-at-Arms and Mechaneck, who's about eye to eye with good old Snout Spout here, thanks to his lone neck extender. I mean, granted, I could add more and make him taller than good old Snout Spout here, but that's cheating. He's lucky I gave him one. That said, as much as I do like the evil warriors from this new Eternia subline, I gotta say, once you get a decent amount of the heroic warriors together, they too look pretty bossin'. So, moving these two out of the way, so we can make room for our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulas, right there, and the infamous 11 Spawn, right there. You could see that good old Al Simmons is not exactly towering over everyone today, but Snout Spout is a deluxe figure, so I guess it's better that he is quite the chungus indeed. So, with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. overall, and despite the fact I had to go through some grade A Major League bullshit shenanigans to actually obtain a decent enough sample of good old Snout Spout here, shout out to Mattel Creations for that one, I have to say, this is hands down one of the best releases in the entirety of the Masterverse line. Not just New Eternia, and everything in between. Because let's face it, this figure right here is a better figure than a character like good old Snout Spout really deserves. I mean, just look at him. He's a robotic elephant that also happens to be a firefighter. That's pretty fucking stupid when you think about it. But this figure is pretty badass, despite the fact that you do kind of have to modify the arms so they don't, you know, like my first one. But after that, it's pretty bussin', not gonna lie. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.